Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. Hope you're all having a fantastic day. So today's kind of exciting. We're going out to pick up some bumpers for KRX and possibly something else. The only problem is it's 2.5, 3 hours away. So let's go ahead and get in the car and get moving. All right, I just left the guy's shop. He didn't want to be on camera. I didn't want his location shown. Basically, I'm in Lake Havasu, and I got such a good deal. It was worth the 3-hour drive. So let's get home. I'll show you what I got, and we'll get the stuff installed. We got an HMF exhaust. We got the HMF rear bumper, and we got the HMF front bumper with winch mounts. All these items only have about 30 to 50 miles on them, as they were used for demo and photo shoots. There is some nicks and dings as they've been pushed around the shop, but you know what, for the price I paid, I really can't complain. So let's go ahead, let's get these installed and see how it looks. So to go ahead and get started on this rear bumper, it's pretty easy. Only thing I have to do is take off the factory recovery point. Now there's only 4 bolts that hold on this rear bumper. There's 2 down here, just like the factory point, and there's 2 right here. They're 8mm hex heads, and they'll go up here in the factory locations. Now the bolts that come with this bumper are not long enough to reuse this factory recovery point, but the bolts that are on the factory recovery point are long enough. So let's go ahead and get this removed. Pretty simple install on this rear bumper, just 4 bolts, and we'll get everything reinstalled. So here's the difference. Here is the bumper bolt that comes with the HMF. Here is the factory bolt. Put them both there. So the factory bolt's probably 1/4 inch longer. So now to install this is pretty simple. I'm gonna go ahead and pick it up. I'm gonna hand start the bolts up here first and just let it rest right there. So now I've got the top in there, it's nice and loose. So looks like this will line up the factory recovery point, and I will just put it on there. As long as I have enough threads in the back, I'm not too worried about it. This is just mainly for protection. It does have a 2-inch receiver. I will never tow with this. That's what the Pioneer is for. But it is nice if I ever want to put, you know, another recovery point up here or a step or something to get into the bed. But honestly, I just want it for protection. And the bottom bolt's snugged up. I need to go back and look at the factory torque settings. I think it was like 44 foot-pounds, but I'll double check that. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna look at the factory torque settings for these bolts. I'll snug them up now, but honestly, pretty good. 15 minutes to get this rear bumper installed, and that was with removing the factory tow hook. If you have your factory tow hook, there's plenty of threads, in my opinion, to keep it. So I did read the instructions on this, and it does not come with any tow specs, but it does say light duty or you'll avoid the warranty. And the nice thing is, it's a good step. So as I move around to the front, before I can install the front bumper, just like the rear, I have to do some disassembly. Now the front's a little bit more difficult. Not only to take off the factory recovery point, I gotta take off the winch mount that I installed a few months back. While doing that, I'm also gonna remove the winch, because the winch will be moved out here up front. Now, one issue you may run into, and I might run into this, is how long are the wires for the winch? Now, I didn't install my winch like the factory said. My winch solenoid is underneath the dash, so it's not too far. If I have to switch the wires out, I'm only going a couple of feet. But I might have some extra wire coiled up, zip tied off to the side in there, because I don't like to cut those factory wires. So I'm gonna go ahead, I will do a time lapse of this, and we're gonna get everything uninstalled real quick, so we can go ahead and start installing the new bumper. Everything's wiped down, ready to go for the install, so hopefully this bumper installs as easy as the rear bumper. So first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna take what they call the mid plates. Now it does have some, again, 8mm hex head bolts, and you're gonna go through this top mounts up here. So just go ahead, put your bolt, your washer, thread it in, just like that. Then go around the back with another washer and the nuts. Got the mid plate mounted, it's nice and loose. The next thing we're gonna do is grab these side pieces. Now there is a right and a left. If you look at it, the whole step, you want the flat towards the bottom. So go ahead and get those mounted up. Next step, once you get the side pieces on, is installing the bumper. Now, so you can take your bolt to washer, you can come in through the side of this with another washer and the nylock nuts. We're going to hand tighten that. It's just gonna kind of sit here. Then we're gonna line everything up. We're gonna connect the sides with more of these small button head bolts, and then we'll use these big bolts down here, and these will connect the bottom. From there, we'll add some spacers and whatnot. So let's go ahead and get these first ones done, and I'll show you what the bottom looks like. This is where a second set of hands could help. That one started. Come over here. Okay, from there we're gonna go ahead and put the longer bolts on. So in these longer bolts, it comes with some spacers. So it's gonna go the bolts through the bottom of the bumper, then these spacers, a washer, the spacer's aluminum, washer steel, washer behind the bumper, and then the nylock nuts. Now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna throw back on the recovery point so I can hook the winch hook there. So I'll get that done. I'm gonna pick up on the bumper, slide the bolt through. We'll do the same to the other side. Once you get those through, take your thicker washer. So the thinner washer goes in the inside, the thicker washer goes on the outside with the nut, and I'll show you what this looks like. The reason you use those spacers is the bumper actually does not sit flush. It sits out, as you can see, I have the spacer, then the thin washer. There's lots of extra bolt back there, as you can see right here. So I retain the factory toe hook. Once you get those nice and loose, the last two button head bolts that you have left, you're gonna put on these side pieces here. Everything is nice and loose, it's on there. Now it's time to tighten everything up, and there's actually a specific order you're supposed to tighten this up, so let me read it to you. You're supposed to tighten up the lower mounts 4, the mid plate to the frame bolts, the mid plate to the upper bolts, so you got the bottom bolts and then these upper bolts there, the bumper extension bolts, and then these side bolts. So you're basically gonna go bottom, middle, top, then these outside ones, and then the frame ones. So let's get tightening. Now that everything's nice and tight, let's hook up our winch. So we'll run the cable through, set it down. So I'll get the factory 4 bolts and bolt the winch up. And all we gotta do is run a couple wires. Last thing to do is hook up the fair lead. Now, I can't use this one, even though it's practically brand new. It's never been used except for sitting on the KRX for the last 600 miles. It's too small. So the mounting holes on here is just a little bit wider. So I'm gonna go ahead, I put the hook back on here with the old cotter pin. If you watch my videos in the past, I hate using old cotter pins. But I'll just go ahead and hook it right here, just to keep it out of the way. Lastly, I'll have to go ahead and hook up the wires. Now, in order to do that, I need to pull the dash off, which isn't a big deal. Stay tuned for next week's video, because we're gonna install a whole communication system, a radio, intercom, everything. So I'll wait to go ahead and do that. It's just 2 wires I gotta lengthen. Other than that, it's a good looking bumper. Honestly, I like it a lot better than the other ones out there. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. The reason I chose this bumper over the Warn, whether I was gonna buy new or not, was that it has these side mounting brackets. Now, are they really gonna hold that much weight? I don't know. It just makes me feel better that it's mounted up top, because we are moving the winch from down low behind the frame to in front of the frame. It just creates a little bit more leverage, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but I like the look of it. I like it's nice and high. I don't go mudding, but I think this will do well for Moab if I need to get the winch out easier. I like the looks. The only thing I would really change on this bumper is right here. There's no brush guard. Some of the other bumpers have them, so I might order some of that skid plate material, weld some tabs on here. I already have to, rattle can this a little bit, but maybe weld some tabs and bend a piece of that plastic right here, and then my hook will still be available, but that way it just keeps debris, rocks, bushes, whatever I might run into from back here, and really taking some 1/8 inch steel plate you know, making some little tabs mounted on there isn't going to hurt anything. And I think it'll clean up the look just a little bit. So I hope you liked the video. I hope you find some good deals online like I did. I won't go into the price, but I can tell you it was worth the drive. I paid less than 50% retail for everything. For those of you wondering about the muffler, no, we're not going to install that on my KRX. I actually picked that for a buddy of mine who is out of state right now, so I will meet up with him and give him his muffler. But in order to run that muffler, you're supposed to run a tuner. And currently I am not running a tuner, but honestly, I think the front and rear bumpers turned out really well. They're nice and stout. So I hope you liked the video. I hope you learned something. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and until next time.